Let me tell you, Nikki, Rendon said he still needs time to really process and reflect on his time on his tenure as Speaker, but he did share with me some of his most proudest accomplishments and greatest regrets.
I like the way that we were aggressive and forward-thinking throughout my 7 years here.
California's 70th Assembly Speaker Anthony Rendon speaking one-on-one with us, looking back on his tenure serving in one of the legislature's most powerful positions, a position he's held since 2016. That makes him California's second longest serving speaker in state history. But come Friday, he'll pass that baton to fellow Democrat Robert Rivas. Now, Rendon is reflecting on his tenure leading the Assembly in a role that even he's surprised he held as long as he did.
I'm very shy. I'm not much of a people person, so my sort of makeup, who I am as a person, did not exactly make me the most well-suited person for this job. So it's certainly a shock from that perspective.
A job seen as powerful because of its influence over which bills get heard on the floor, who's appointed to various committees, and what budget and other priorities are relayed directly to the governor, not to mention taking action during statewide emergencies.
What are you most proud of?
I think what I'm most proud of is the way that we responded to various crises, whether they were, the fires and floods that we had, Donald Trump, which I consider to be a crisis, rather than just sort of fixing the problems and putting a Band-Aid on things.
But it's also one of those crises that today leads him to have some regrets.
I think one of the things that sort of haunts me a lot is, during the COVID outbreak, we shut down the legislature. We did that at a time when people were still working in most restaurants. People were working in a lot of jobs throughout our state. I don't quite know how to reconcile that. I really think that we should have kept working as a legislative body. I think it would have been important symbolically.
On the issues, he says he's proud of the multiple budgets he's worked on and his efforts to make the legislature more diverse. But on other key matters, he recognizes it's been tough.
What is your take to some who have argued, those issues, homelessness, housing, have not gotten better?
Yeah, fair. I think it's fair. I think politicians, we too often sort of deflect those types of things and talk about what we've done rather than talk about reality. We've devoted a lot of resources, but I would say those problems took a generation to create, and they're going to take a long time to solve.
On what it was like working with both Governors Newsom and Brown, Rendon offered a sense of humor.
They're great. Gavin Newsom has better hair, for sure.
But in all seriousness, Rendon has advice for the next speaker.
You wake up, there's surprises, but the job is about rolling with those changes, rolling with those punches.
As for what comes next for Rendon?
My life has been one surprise after another, so who the hell knows what happens next?
So you can see there, Rendon has quite the sense of humor, and surely, Nikki, you know that you've interviewed him several times. Now, in all seriousness, what actually comes next for Rendon? Well, remember, he's still a member of the Assembly representing his LA area district. He tells me he plans to continue and serve out the remainder of that term through 2024, and then he says he hopes to run for state treasurer in 2026. Reporting live from the state capitol, covering local news that matters, Eitan Wallace, Fox 40 News.
Yeah, very interesting conversation, Eitan. You could tell the speaker is on his way out with his more relaxed answers when you're asking him, about some of the issues facing California, specifically homelessness. And he's like, yeah, fair, just very succinct. But the speaker's always very succinct. As you know, as a reporter, if you're going to interview him, you have to have a lot of topics prepared because he keeps his answers very short. But I want to ask you, too, the mood of the legislature, because this has been a tumultuous time. This speakership fight, it was a true fight. It was a battle. And this is not how Speaker Rendon wanted to end his tenure. He has been the longest serving speaker since Willie Brown, the Ayatollah of the Assembly, as Willie Brown is known, and obviously surpassing Jesse Unruh. So what is the vibe in the legislature right now with this leadership change? Are they ready for Robert Rivas to come in?
Well, it's a great question, Nikki, and many of the, especially freshmen, the new members who have taken over just really since the 22 election, tell me at least behind the scenes that, yes, they are ready. But you are absolutely right. This is very much a divided caucus, and even members behind the scenes will tell you that, whether they acknowledge it in public or not. Now, one final thing, I did talk to Rendon really during this interview also about that. He says, yes, it is divided. He says, actually, that this is a different Democratic caucus than when he took over. The implication there is that it used to be more united. That's at least how Rendon sees it. But he says it's completely normal, completely natural for democracy to work this way. And he says, yes, it is divided. But he also says not everybody needs a bear hug, as he put it. He says at the end of the day, it's okay. They'll have some disagreements, but they'll move forward. Nikki?
Right, our Eitan Wallace, great conversations, very interesting. Thanks so much.